And we are just here to explain to you our solution for this problem. Alright, so first of all, we just did some background information just to kind of get a gauge of our market. And according to controlandroll.com, the average American uses 49 rolls or 2.8 miles of toilet paper a year. And so with roughly 319 million Americans, that's 15.6 billion rolls of toilet paper per year. And so of these rolls, we kind of calculated that Quilted Northern produces just over 6% of that market. And we really want to work to help up that percentage and just capture more of the market as a whole. So the basic problem and how we want to solve it is just maximize our profit and satisfy the most customers with using the available resources, and we came up with these options to do that. So the first thing is we could change nothing. We could expand the Arkansas market. We could change Arkansas and Wisconsin, or we can change Arkansas and Oregon.
So the solution we came up with was switching Arkansas and Oregon. We think that Oregon will produce Ultra Plush for the entire country, and so we're going to use that plant so they can focus on the Ultra Plush and hone in on the full country. Arkansas will produce the Ultra Soft and Strong for the West Coast because the West Coast demand is so strong. Our rationale behind this, when looking for reasons on which direction we were going to go in, we looked at time, shipping costs, and location of the country, and demand by customers. Olivia Kennedy said that we need to keep up with demand or we will lose customers. The demand right now, currently, for plush is the highest on the West Coast, and that's why we decided to move to Oregon. The West Coast is the region where the demand is increased at the fastest rate, so we see a future there, and we know that demand will keep increasing and not just stop. The last 2 periods, we've seen an average increase of 90,000 cases on the West Coast, and so this is another just number that shows us that it's going to keep steadily increasing.
A big factor that we considered was the amount of time with the 3 different options. If we were to expand Arkansas, it would take 280 days, which would be a huge loss, the amount of toilet paper that can be manufactured for that year. And then with Arkansas, or with Wisconsin and Oregon, there's 80 days for switching to Wisconsin and 70 for Oregon. So with that 10-day differential, we can make almost 28,000 more cases of plush, whereas if we switch to Wisconsin, we'd be losing out on that amount. As we can see here, the Oregon is by far the best choice in the amount of time that will be spent on the switch. Shipping cost was another big consideration. The biggest demand currently is on the West Coast, so it made sense to produce the plush toilet paper in Oregon on the West Coast. By switching, we're saving $18 shipping to the West Coast, but shipping to the East Coast is going to increase $12. Overall, it is going to get better because we are saving $6 on average per case in total shipping. Finally, in cost, we're going to save about $4 million, but the material is going to increase $800,000, and in shipping will be saved $1.6. So total, we will be saving $4.8 million by switching to Oregon.
Now you might be wondering how our solution stacks up against the other solutions which we proposed earlier. So we first took a look at expanding Arkansas. And frankly, we saw this as a little boring, a little too, there's not enough risk involved. And as a successful company, you have to take risks. And we believe that just not changing anything doesn't capitalize on the opportunity that we have to earn a profit at this time. In terms of expanding Arkansas, we thought that that was too costly. The cost is $188.5 million just to expand that facility, and we don't believe that that's worth it, considering that the demand in the South is decreasing. We don't feel it makes a lot of sense to have the sole producer of plush being in a market that it's not wanted there. We also looked at switching the production capabilities of Arkansas with those in Wisconsin, but we also felt that this didn't stack up quite as well as it did with our solution switching it with Oregon. Wisconsin is producing the most Ultra Soft and Strong, and this is our staple product. Now, you want to take risks in business, but you don't necessarily want to go completely away from what's proven to work and what makes you money. And losing this production in Wisconsin might not be good for the bottom line. It also has higher shipping costs to the West Coast and East Coast where the demand is the highest, and it's a longer switch time, and it depends on the current rate increasing. And we also feel that going back to location of the sole producer of plush, it doesn't make sense having a region where it doesn't fit. The Midwest isn't a 3-ply toilet paper scene, it's more of a 2-ply. The West Coast is where we really feel that plush fits and will increase profits. Finally, we looked at what our competitors are doing. P&G, which produces Charmin, which is arguably our largest competitor in the market, just opened a new plant in Utah. And they saw the same trends we did. The demand is increasing in the West for 3-ply toilet paper, and so they built a plant in Utah to supply the region. So our solution will put one in Oregon so we can directly compete with Charmin, and we believe that we can beat them in this competition. And Kruger produces White Cloud, which is another competition of ours in the 3-ply market, and they only have a plant in Memphis, and we feel that even if we move it to Oregon, we can still ship enough to the South. The demand there is decreasing, so we feel like that in Oregon we can still meet the demand.
Now, in order to keep up with this competition and to take advantage of the increased demand for Ultra Plush, we urge you to implement our solution as soon as possible. Now, there are costs associated with switching the mills. However, we will make up for these costs in a little over 2 years just from our revenue increases alone. Now, as you know, Nick Jones is currently at our Oregon plant, and he has shown a great strength in managing Soft and Strong. So we propose to move him to Wisconsin so he can continue working with Soft and Strong. Similarly, Jackie Engel has shown a great strength in maximizing production, so we would like to move her to Oregon to continue to maximize production of Ultra Plush, which is where she is needed the most. Now, keeping in mind our overall goal is to maximize profit while satisfying most customers, we ask you to look at this from a risk versus reward perspective. The bottom line is that demand is increasing for Ultra Plush. We have seen that the trend will continue. As the economy continues to boom, people are more willing to spend money on higher quality toilet paper. So it is a mistake to keep it at the status quo. Our customers have shown us that they want more Ultra Plush, and it is our duty as a company to give them what they want. So switching Oregon and Arkansas will offer the most reward for the least amount of risk. By doing so, we are increasing the production of Ultra Plush, but we are not overestimating the demand, which would cause problems in the future. We do not suggest that you switch Wisconsin and Arkansas, as this would severely cut the production of Soft and Strong, which is still our staple product and would leave many customers unsatisfied. Similarly, we don't ask you to expand Arkansas, as this is extremely costly and would take a long time. We just cannot afford to do this, as we are one of the only 3-ply brands on the market, and we need to take advantage of this fact now. So to summarize, we have considered each option carefully, and we have analyzed all of the calculations, and we have found that switching Oregon and Arkansas is the best solution to the problem. So we would like to thank you for your time, and we hope we have provided you with useful information to aid you in your decision. And now we would like to open it up for questions.
I have a question. Your proposed, or your conclusion is based a lot on an increase in consumption for plus on the West Coast. The governor of California, just within the last 10 days, has implemented water restrictions, which means less water to flush toilets. The one complaint about our product is that it doesn't dissolve as fast as our competitors' products. How are we sure that the drought in California isn't going to affect the consumption of 3-ply toilet paper compared to 2-ply toilet paper?
Well, there's no way to ever be completely sure that this mandate won't affect the demand in the West Coast. But we believe that the trends and the numbers that we've analyzed will show that the demand will still be there, because a lot of people on the West Coast, it's mainly in Southern California. I don't know if people think that it affects them enough where they will stop buying toilet paper. I don't know if people may have connection where they're buying it off the shelf. I still think they'll want the 3-ply. They'll still want the product that we're providing. And I think the demand will continue to increase in that region.
We think toilet paper is obviously a staple product, and while people may be aware of a drought or the fact that they need to use less water, we think that people will stick with what they're used to buying, like we always do.
Let's hope. Thank you. Okay, other questions?
So any concerns about the fact that we're going to be, based on the growth that you talked about, we're going to be tapped out in Oregon pretty soon as far as capacity is concerned? So you talked about 90,000 cases in the past year, so based on those trends, we're going to reach capacity there soon.
Right.
We recognize that the demand is increasing on the West Coast. It's also decreasing in the Midwest and the South, however. So in the end, if we were to switch to Wisconsin, which would have produced the most flush toilet paper, we wouldn't be able to produce enough soft and strong, which is still the product we sell the most. So according to trends, it might run out eventually, which would then cause a problem down the road. But for the next few years, it'd be safest to switch to Oregon.
You guys are also proposing moving Jackie to Oregon when Jackie is new and has just moved to her location. So think about your employees' integrity and keeping them happy and knowing, not expecting them to move every year or whatever the need is. Also, Nick is, you know that he doesn't want to change, and now you guys are moving him to a new location instead of letting him make smaller changes within his company. So can you guys talk, within his current plant, can you guys talk about that and how you're going to ease with that and take care of your employees?
I think that in terms of Nick, we were more worried about his stubbornness in terms of changing the production capabilities. We noticed that he was a former Marine, and in the military you are asked to move around, so we thought that that change in terms of moving would be less than the change in terms of having to shift production and what you expected your employees to do. And we think that this opportunity is good for Jackie. We think that you have a chance to move up and show even more what you can do, having to head this switching of the facilities to Oregon.
Okay,
Thank
thank you,
you.
team.
Thank you.
Yeah.